Hello children, how are you all? I hope you all are healthy and hearty, you all are fit and fine. My name is Tanya Sharma and I welcome you all to the Knowledge Planet powered by Physics Wallah. Today we are going to start an ultimate recap in very less minutes so that we can do the revision of the entire chapter, and hereby we are starting the chapter Constitutional Design, which is from the subject Political Science. Let us see what all we'll study in this chapter. First of all, we'll understand what are the major points and why do we need a constitution. Right, what is constitution? It's a rule book, we all know, but why do we need it? Next is how South Africa drawn a very beautiful concept of the constitution, and then we'll understand how the Indian constitution was made, and next will be the guiding values of the Indian constitution. Now with the chapter suggesting constitutional design, it is merely we are understanding about the design of the constitution, how the constitution is designed in a particular country, how it is designed. Is it a very easy task or a very difficult task? We need to understand in this particular chapter, right? So when we come back to the chapter, hereby we start the story of South Africa. And it is a very sad story when we talk about the history of South Africa, because South Africa was going under, the South Africa people and the population were undergoing mere discrimination based on race, based on their skin color, and that was very difficult for all of them to live together. And how the constitution and the mere understanding of the constitution came in this particular country. So when we talk about Nelson Mandela, so the story starts from Nelson Mandela being tried for treason. Now what is the meaning of treason? Treason means whereby you are not accepting the government, you are not accepting your particular government and you are going against by them. So why Nelson Mandela was charged for treason, what exactly he has done, and why he was going against the elected government. Why South African government? Now who was the government here? The government was, when we talk about the wide South African government, he and 7 other leaders were sentenced to life imprisonment. Now these people, along with Nelson Mandela, they were tried for treason because they were not accepting the government, they were not going by their laws, and this government was made by white South African government. Now what were the white and what is white and what is black, we are going to understand. In 1964, this is the year we need to remember, and for daring to oppose the apartheid regime in this country. Now what kind of apartheid regime is going inside the country? Now basically this apartheid regime means whereby there is discrimination on the basis of the skin color, whereby the Africans who are dark skin, they have dark skin color, they were known as blacks, and whites, basically Europeans and Britishers, because of the geographical condition and because of their area they live in, they are born to have a bright skin color, we can say white skin color. So this was a distinction between whites and blacks which was created by Europeans, or which was created by the Britishers back then. And this racial discrimination between the skin color, or we can say racial discrimination, this system is known as apartheid. But the apartheid system just means this? It is beyond that. We'll understand. So he spent the next 28 years in South Africa's more dreaded prison, and the prison was known as Robben Island. It was in Robben Island. Now let us see what happened exactly in South Africa. So basically the apartheid system was a name of a system which is known as racial discrimination. You are discriminated based on your skin color, again, which is a very big discrimination. Then, which is unique to South Africa, and in this system, a lot of people, they were not regarded as human beings itself. They were regarded as slaves. They were not given, that humanitarian approach was also not seen when we talk about these people. And there were a lot of discrimination based on a lot of grounds. Let us see what kind of discrimination were there. So they were forbidden from places, they were forbidden from taxis, they were forbidden from hotels, they were forbidden from trains, they were forbidden from buses, or we can say public buses. They were also forbidden from the taxis. Okay, so all this system was very different. Obviously, anyone would feel very, very, very sad when they are not given that authority to use all these things. Apart from that, they were also discriminated, which means for whites, for Europeans, there were different hospitals, and for blacks, or we can say South African natives, there were different hospitals. Again, this is a very sad situation whereby the people, definitely they feel sad, they feel discriminated, they will feel dominated. So hospitals, we talk about colleges and schools, hospitals, colleges, or we can say universities, or we can say schools, everything was different and people were discriminated on all these grounds, which means that blacks, or we can say native South African, were not allowed to enter without the permission of the whites, or we can say Europeans and Britishers. Next, what happened? Apart from this, cinema halls, theaters, libraries, even private beach, they were different beaches for different people. So we can say here man-made things and the natural things were also discriminated between these people. So definitely the people will feel very sad, the people will feel very, very sad when they enter this premises, because they are not allowed to enter the beaches. These are all natural made things, not human made. So the entire humanitarian approach is missing here. So people are feeling very, very sad. Now what happened? Since 1950, blacks, colored and Indian. So here we are not talking about only blacks. Blacks means South Africans. Then we are talking about colored people. Colored people are those people who are not exactly from South Africa. They are from different countries living in South Africa, right? Indians also, they fought against this apartheid system, which is an unjust system. They launched protest marches, strike, but nothing happened. Apart from that, African National Congress was also an umbrella associate, we can say umbrella political party, okay, organization. African National Congress, ANC, it handled a lot of things together, but nothing major was happening. So a lot of people started protesting, march against strikes, but nothing was happening. So ANC brought a lot of people, African National Congress brought a lot of people under their control and started protesting with a majority. Okay, so earlier there was no majority, but now how majority came in? When African National Congress brought a lot of people together. That is why it is known as umbrella nation. What do we mean by umbrella? Umbrella means that you are together here, nobody outsider can attack you, right? So here umbrella nation means a lot of people were coming together and they were protesting against this unjust law, they were protesting against this apartheid system. Now let's see what happened. Several countries denounced apartheid unjust and racist. A lot of countries also said the same thing, that this system is not good, this is unjust and racist, but white racist government continued to rule by detaining, torturing, killing thousands of black people, discriminating a lot of black people, and this system was going on and on, continuing from a lot of times. Now, there was a time when protests and struggles went, increased. People were on roads and people were feeling very sad. So, when protest and struggle against apartheid system increased, the government realized now they are in majority. The Indians, the colored and a lot of black people, which means South African natives, now they're together and we are alone here, and the protest there, everything is increasing. Now they realize that we should not continue with the apartheid system. Okay, so they believe that we should not longer keep the blacks under their rule through repression. Now it's time where we should understand their point of view as well, because now they are in majority. Now, what changed? The entire thing in South Africa was the only way to maintain trust, and in such a situation was to write down the rules, because orally if we tell them this is good or this is bad, they will not understand, because unjust laws are just continuing. And now because they are in majority, who are in majority? The South African natives, the Indians and the colored people, now they are in majority. So now they are feeling that, okay, now what we should do, because now the white government, or we can say the white South African government have now listened to us and they are not going, or they are not continuing with the apartheid system. So what should we do? In that case, now they are more and more, we can say they are in control, and they are saying that we are not continuing with this particular system. So now what happened? Now the people here, the South African people, native people, colored Indian people now decided that we should make such rules, we should make such written rules and regulations whereby everyone should follow, and everyone should follow, which means no one is bigger or no one is, we can say, lesser than this constitution. The law is big and everyone should go by the law. So they decided that we should write down some rules and of the game that everyone should abide by. These rules lay down how rulers to be chosen in future. So now everything from ruler to normal people, everything was written down. Now, rules, law, regulation, everything came, and this became a very good thing, and everything was sorted in rules, regulation, everything was sorted in South Africa with the coming of the constitution, and the constitution was very nice, right? Now the question comes, the second question comes now, because of this constitution, because people started protesting, because people felt that the system is unjust, the apartheid system is unjust and we need to fight it, because people came together, people were together, they fought, they protested, they marched, they did strikes. So the government, the white government, we can say white African government, actually South African government, they were all controlled. Now they felt that things are not in our hands and things are in the hands of other people, like the native South Africans, the people and everyone. So now they were very much controlled, and because of the coming of the constitution, things were very much sorted out. And Nelson Mandela, actually in the starting of the story we heard that Nelson Mandela was tried and he was charged for treason, but he was released from the jail. Other people were also released from the jail, and he was made the first president of South Africa. Things are very much sorted now, and till now things uprise regarding white and black, but these are not that system, this was not that particular system which was made in that particular era, right? Now the question arises, why do we need a constitution? Again, constitution is a supreme law, right? Constitution is a supreme law that determines the relationship between the people living in the territory and the citizens, right? So it is obviously, see, anything goes wrong, so we can abide, we have constitution has our back, so we can definitely go back to the constitution. Yes, it is written in the constitution and no one can, go against the constitution. So if things are written in the constitution, definitely we are safe, we are secure. So it is a relation, it is a supreme law. Supreme means a very big law, everyone has to abide by that. And then it is the relationship between the people living in the territory called citizens, and relationship between the people and the government. It is between territory, okay, and the citizens, and then the people and the government. So it is a two-way relation, and definitely no one can go against the constitution because it is a very big law, it is a supreme law. Next, we have 4 points from our textbook which is given in NCERT, and these are very much important. So first point is, it generates a degree of trust. Because we have a trust on the constitution, then nothing can go against us. Alright, so first we have degree, and then we can coordinate that is necessary for different kind of people to live together. Because we are different people living in the same country, so it generates, constitution and law generates trust and coordination, so that if anything by chance goes wrong, we have our back, we have our constitution. So it generates a degree and coordination among the people living in a particular country, right? Second point, it specifies how the government to be constituted. It's not only about the citizens, it's about the rulers, it's about the government, it is about the ministers living in the particular country, how the country will be governed. So it's not only about the constitution, it's not only about the citizen, it is about the people, it is about the rulers, it is about everyone living in the particular country. Who will have power to take which decision? So it is possible, right? It is possible, like some of the people do unjust laws, some of the people take bad decisions, but it is not always in the case of where we have constitution, because we have good rule book so that we can abide by that book. Third point will be, it lays down limits on the power of the government. Lays down limits, which means that no one has the ultimate power, no one has the unlimited power. Where the unlimited power lies, it lies in the constitution. Nobody can amend the constitution for their increment in power, so we cannot do that, which means it lays down the limit on the powers of the constitution. And tells us what rights of the citizen are. Definitely it works for the rights of the citizen. And fourth, it expresses the aspirations of the people about creating a good society. Definitely these laws are nothing but basically they want to make a unity in the country. They want to increase the living together, unity in the country. People should be happy living in the country. So these laws not only give us the restrictions, but they give us reasonable restrictions. They give us a module whereby how we have to behave in a particular country and how things will be better if we live together. So this is why we need a constitution, and this is how the particular constitution in any country is governed. Now we are talking about the third point, whereby the Indian constitution, why we are discussing the Indian constitution here. So basically when we understand Indian constitution, as we all know, things are never good. Okay, in history when we see a lot of countries, the past, sometimes that never, it is not satisfying, it is not every time happy. So India's constitution was obviously discussed already. It was, it was already discussed in the various ways, and India was also a colony. India was also a colony of British. India was also a colony of British, or we can say it is a European colony. And as in South Africa, there was a difference between India and South Africa's situation. In South Africa, rulers came and they settled down in South Africa. Right, and they had the entire thing, they settled down. But in India, the rulers did not settle down. In India, the rulers did not settle down. So this situation was different from South Africa's and India's situation, whereby in India, the rulers did not settle down, but in Africa, the rulers were settled down entirely. Right. So now India was also a colony of British, and the British colony against had unjust laws. Okay, they had unjust laws for the entire country of India. But Indian people were very determined. Indian people, or we can say the leaders, citizens were all determined that some or the other day, we will have our independence back. We will have our independence back. Okay, we will get our independence and we'll get our India independence back. Okay, so in order to having their determination, in order that they were having all this thing entirely their mind, they were already discussing about their constitution. So they have already discussed. Okay, so leaders, we can write leaders already discussed, and they had discussed with the people, and that already have in their mind how our Indian constitution will look like. So they have drafted their constitution. We will write again. They have drafted their constitution on the prior basis. When they were the colony of British, that particular time, they have already kept in mind how our independent India will look like, or how our constitution will look like. So their homework, or we can say the previous work, was already done by the people of India. Right. So Motilal, when they were happened, Motilal Nehru, the chairman, Sir Ali Imam, Tej Bahadur Sapru, Subhash Chandra Bose, M.R. Jayakar and Annie joined the committee later. Basically, this was the part 2 constitution. Motilal Nehru and other leaders, 7 other leaders, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes, Motilal Nehru and 7 other leaders, they've already discussed how our independent India will look like. Now, who was Motilal Nehru? Motilal Nehru was father of Jawaharlal Nehru. He was the father of Jawaharlal Nehru. So, they've already discussed how the constitution of India will look like. In 1931, the resolution at Karachi session of Indian National Congress dwelt on how independent constitution will look like. So, they have already done in 1931, which was known as the Karachi session of 1931. So that priorly we can write this, previously they had discussed, previously when they were a colony of British, because they were so determined that some or the other day we'll have our India back, we'll have our independence back. So we need to discuss about our constitution, and this was already done. The drafting of the constitution and what ideals will be there in the constitution, this was already done in the constitution. Okay. Next, they took inspiration from definitely the French Revolution, parliamentary democracy, the French Revolution, Okay, so the idea of constitution was taken by from a various Bill of Rights, then with the Nazism and all these things, they were already had inspiration from all these areas, the Bill of Rights and the parliamentary democracy in US. So all these things were French Revolution and the Nazism, everything was the German Revolution, everything was already pre-decided, and they took inspiration from, they were inspired from various other areas. So now they built the Constituent Assembly. India built its Constituent Assembly. The Constitution Assembly, we can say, the Constituent Assembly are the people, they are meeting people and they are ministers who will discuss their constitution, and they will dwell up on the constitution, how the constitution will look like. So on 1946 July, what happened? The first meeting of the constitution was there and elections were held on this particular day regarding the people who will come and decide their constitution. So the drafting of the document called the constitution was done by an assembly of elected representatives. So these are all elected representatives, and the second meeting was happened on 1946 December. So first meeting on July and the second meeting was happened in December. Elections were held, and then what happened now? Soon after this Constituent Assembly was built, partition happened. So this was again a very we can say an evil eye was there on India. So what happened? Partition happened between India and Pakistan. So the Constituent Assembly was built for the entire India, which included Pakistan. But now because they were partitioned, because India and Pakistan were divided now, so in that case the Constituent Assembly were also divided. Okay, as the countries were divided and Pakistan was made another country, as the Constituent Assembly, India was divided, the Constituent Assembly was also divided. In India, there were 299 members of the Constituent Assembly, which was also after division, it was there. Right, so this was again a very sad part where the partition happened, and it is a very difficult struggle for all those people because it was not so easy. Right, now what happened after that? So on 26 November 1949, our constitution was adopted. Our constitution was adopted because, as you all know, our constitution was adopted, whereby it came into effect on 26 January. It came into effect on 26 January 1950, so that every year in India it is celebrated as Republic Day. Republic Day, why? Because on 26 January 1956 actually the constitution came into its effect, but it was adopted on 26 November 1949. So hereby, because of the various struggles and because of the elsewhere things, Indian constitution was made. Yes, partition was a sad part, India and Pakistan. So now the question rises, why should we accept the constitution made by this assembly more than 6 decades ago? Now, why do we accept? We are talking about the Indian people. Why are Indians accepting the same constitution which was made then more than 6 decades ago? Why was this till now it is accepted in India? The reason being because the struggles they came from, the problems they came from, which was definitely will not repeat again. This happened in history. So their constitution was not a single day process. As I told you, in India people were discussing and drafting the constitution when they were the assembly of particular, when they were the colony of the particular British. So they were not discussing and they were not drafting the constitution after independence. They were doing it much before that. So first of all, it gives purity to this particular thing. Secondly, we can say that people were elected. The Constituent Assembly was elected, which means it has a representation of the entire India. Right. So in that case, what are the reasons? First of all, the struggles. First of all, the time, and second is the experience that was only experienced during the freedom struggle. So the reason for accepting the constitution is that Constituent Assembly represented the people of India. Okay, so here we are also keeping in mind, first will be the struggle that definitely will not be repeated. right? That will not repeat. The things which has happened in history definitely will not repeat. In that case, there was no universal adult franchise at that time. So Constituent Assembly could not have been chosen directly by people of India. It was selected mainly by the members of existing provincial legislatures that we mentioned above. This ensured a fair geographical share, which means there was no direct voting for that. There was voting for the provincial legislatures, whereby different people. Provincial means areas, okay, different regions. So different regions people came together, they had their election, and then they were chosen. Then they were chosen as the member of the Constituent Assembly who will draft the constitution for the entire country, which ensures that the fair share of geography of the entire India was kept in mind. So people's point of view of the entire India were kept in mind before that. That is the reason why it gives sanctity, it gives purity to the constitution. Alright, and the reason also it gives, okay, finally, the manner in which the Constituent Assembly worked gives sanctity, it gives purity. How they worked for their constitution, they gave purity to the constitution, as a lot of people, we say, a lot of people were there, and we understand this, okay. So we can see this. First, some basic principles were decided and agreed upon. How Constituent Assembly made such beautiful Constitution of India, which is accepted till now. As I told you, the experience, the freedom struggle, the manner in which Constituent Assembly had their, efforts and everything, we'll discuss just now. We will discuss right now. And before that, I have cleared it out that it gives purity. Reason being because it came from the freedom struggle and it was discussed way more in the previous manner. It was happened much more before the independence. So everything were happening in detail and every person was kept in mind. Every geographical region was kept in mind while discussing the rules for the country. Now, drafting committee chaired by B.R. Ambedkar. We need to remember this particular person's name. B.R. Ambedkar prepared a draft constitution for discussion, which was happened a lot more before. Several rounds of thorough discussion happened. It was not like, okay, we have decided, now let us print this. No, thorough discussions, back-to-back discussions took place in the draft constitution, clause by clause, we can say word by word. More than 2000 amendments were made. 2000 amendments means a lot of changes were made, a lot of amendments, a lot of upgradation of the laws were made. The members deliberated for 114 days spread over 3 years. So you need to remember 114 days they were deliberated, they were constantly discussing about the constitution, and every document presented and every word spoken in the Constituent Assembly, this is till now been recorded and preserved in the museum, whereby we have Indian documents, okay. And these are called Constituent Assembly debates. When printed, these debates can make up to 12 bulky volumes, because every document, every point of view was again preserved, they were recorded. So this also gives sanctity to the how people of India worked. Now the last part we are left with, whereby we'll understand what constitution we are talking about. This is not the entire constitution, this is the preamble, okay. So the preamble of the constitution, okay, so the preamble of the constitution is the mere introduction, whereby we are talking about the philosophy of the entire, we are talking about the philosophy of the entire, constitution. What are the rules, what are the values we are taken from? Let us start. We the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure its citizens justice, social, economic, political, liberty of thought, opinion, and belief, faith and worship, equality of status, opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and the integrity of the nation. So this is our constitution, we can say Indian constitution. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give ourselves this constitution. So 26th day of November 1949, it was adopted, okay. Now the words which we read, now we will understand this word by word. Fraternity means that everyone live, fraternity family. Like everyone in this particular country will live as a family, will live as that we are members of the same family, which means that we will live in unity. So all of us should behave as we are the members of the same family. No one should be treated as fellow person, fellow citizen, inferior. No one is big, small, or we cannot say we cannot touch that person. No, nothing is like that. Like we live in a family, India will be our family. Next we have equality. Equality means whatever equality we are giving to everyone, it should be the same for everyone. Okay, all are equal before the law. Everyone is equal before the law. No one is big or small. If there is law for anyone, this particular law is for the people living in the village and all the ministers who are in the power. The law is for everyone. That is gives equality. The traditional social inequalities have to be ended. Whatever traditional inequalities were there in the caste system which had happened in India, that has to be reduced. That had to be not reduced, ended. Okay, the government should ensure equality and opportunity for everyone. Opportunity should be given to everyone. Then we have liberty. There are unreasonable restrictions. There are no unreasonable restrictions. It is the country, the constitution is giving freedom, whereby there are reasonable restrictions. Restrictions which have the reason. We are not giving unreasonable restriction. There is no unreasonable restriction. You have liberty, you have freedom. In what citizens they think, you can think whatever way you want to think, how they wish to express their thoughts and the way they wish to follow up their thoughts and action. But yes, in a manner which gives reasonable restriction. You cannot think in a violent way, right? You can think in the way which is good for everyone. That means you have no unreasonable restriction. You have restriction only which is reasonable. Then we have justice. Citizen cannot be discriminated on the grounds of caste, religion and gender. Hereby, if anyone gives or anyone discriminates you on the basis of your caste, religion, gender, then you will get a proper justice, because we have a Supreme Court here. Social inequalities have to be reduced. Whatever inequalities were there, they have to be reduced and somewhat ended. Government should work for the welfare of all, especially the disadvantaged groups. They should be taken care of. The welfare should be given and everyone should be getting justice. If whatever happened in the past happened, but now everyone will be getting justice if they are discriminated on these grounds. Democratic, and again democracy is a form of government in which people have the power to choose their leaders. So this is what democracy means. Elect their rulers, they will elect their rulers and hold them accountable. The government is run according to some basic rules, and some basic rules are called constitution. Next part is sovereign. Now sovereign means that it is the above all, it is the leader. So the head of the state, people have supreme right to make decisions on internal as well as external manner, whereby no external power can come in India and take the decision. Whereby sovereign means that external or internal values will be taken by the head of the person. No one can dictate India's government. No external power can dictate the government of India. Socialist, which means that everything wealth will be generated, it will not go in the hand of one. It will be divided, or it will be divided equally. It will be divided in the society. So wealth is generated socially and should be shared equally among the society. Government should regulate the ownership of land and industry to reduce socio-economic inequalities. If there are people who are getting a lot of land and some people are not getting it, so government should make some changes so that everyone gets equal land and opportunity as well. Republic means the head of the state will be an elected person, not a hereditary position, whereby no king and queen can rule in a democracy. In republic itself means the head of the state will be a person who will be elected by the people, not a power which is coming from hereditary. Okay, next is the last one, secular, which means, and secularism also comes from this point onwards, whereby there are so many religions in a particular country. Every religion has its own autonomy. Government will not intervene in this particular any religion. So secularism means citizens have complete freedom to follow any religion. No one will be intervening what are you doing or what you are not doing. But there is no official religion. There is no official religion of the particular country, India. Government treats all religion and beliefs practiced with equal respect, and government will not intervene. Government will not intervene with any of the religion. Alright, so this is how we understood the last point as well, and hereby we are ending the chapter and we have done a quick revision of the entire chapter. I hope you really liked. If you have any doubts or you have any problem regarding the lecture, you can just write in the comment section. Bye bye children, see you next time.